Ahoy!
Ahoy!
Ahoy! Welcome back to Girl Historians.
I'm Carley.
I'm Blair.
And this is the comedy podcast where we talk about history and our girls.
And this is our last episode of the 6 Wives of Henry VIII. What a day.
I know.
6.
When did we start? We started in did we start in January? When did we do it, Catherine of Aragon?
Oh my god, we started so long ago. We had a crazy little journey with the 6 Wives of Henry VIII because I feel like we started in like October.
Right?
And then
we
did the mini series in December.
Yeah, we did
then we've just
12
been
days of
slotting
icons.
in random episodes. Yeah, exactly.
It's been a long time.
So this has been it's been a kind of fun little journey of like every once in a while getting a wife.
Every once in a while you get a rogue wife. Just like Henry VIII.
Which is important. Just like Henry VIII in a way.
It's immersive. It's like Sleep No More.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much I love Tudor history. Is that bad to say?
For me.
No,
it's not for me.
About it?
I like it in the sense that I like all history. Like, I find it funny and I think people are interesting. Like, I really like researching for this because you can always really find like really human moments in history, and not even a way of empathizing like we're all human and it's beautiful, but of just being like, I know that guy now. Like, I know that guy now. And just like the funny coincidences, but I don't really care for it. I like when we get to a point in history where there's just more of a written record, so there's more personality. Yeah, like even if you go farther back, I feel like even with like Romans and stuff, you just know more about the personality of people, maybe because like the record keeping was better. I don't know. But it just feels like a lot of it's like, well, we don't know anything about Cat Howard because her letters were burned. So we're guessing. And I like kind of the more like, I like having a bit more of a record. This is going to be now, like in the future, like we're just going to have like a vacuous pit of information because there's no written record anymore.
No,
so
it's going to be terrible.
It's
going to be a nightmare.
Research now, they're going to be like, well, we don't really know because they put everything on the internet, and that was before the grid fell.
Exactly. When our children take over Girl Historians and they're doing an episode on us, they're going to have no information because the episodes will be lost.
Exactly. And we'll, I guess, be dead, and that's why they have no information. They're just our children.
No, they can't talk to us.
No, we're heavily estranged.
Do not get along.
Oh, I felt really seen yesterday. I had a meeting with Sophie, my manager, and we were both talking about a thing I always say, but she said it as well. Her job is like YouTube manager. And she was like, people are always like, because I'm always like, oh, the grid should fall. And people are like, but you would lose your job. You would rather like lose your job if like social media ended. Yeah. And she was like, absolutely. And I was like, me too. Like, I think the net good of society outweighs the fact that I'd have to retrain in some way. Like, I almost wish, like, I don't know, there's got to be like a period of time that we can pinpoint where the internet and social media was net good before it started to decline. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been 2012 or something like that. Like, we could get somewhere back when Instagram used to just be like sharing pictures with your friends, like kind of before like the heyday of a real influencer. Like,
I feel like as soon as the first person's account hit 5,000 followers, like it was all downhill. You know what I mean?
We're not going to be able to go back from, we're not coming back.
I feel like it's not even any more than that. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember like, do you remember like, God, sometimes I date myself on this podcast so badly, but like, I remember when like, it was like the first YouTuber to get 1 million followers, and now like 1 million followers is like, it's not like, nothing, but like it's so commonplace. It's not even really like shocking anymore.
I've been playing around with, and I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I've become really obsessed with like 2014 like internet culture, like the YouTube of that time and stuff. And I was like, maybe I'll do a video on it. Like, maybe I'll do like a video kind of like archiving all of this stuff. And I was rewatching a bunch of old Tyler Oakley videos, like of him at VidCon. And first of all, he's 24 when all this is happening, which is crazy. Because I remember being like, when I was watching it, I guess if this is in like 2013, I was like 14, let's say. And I remember like he was older than a lot of the people. Because like Troye Sivan was like 16 or 17. Like Connor Franta was like 19, 20. Like he was like the oldest one. And he's 24, which is young.
Holy shit,
which
dude.
Is younger than me. Like crazy.
Yeah.
On top of the world, like doing these nuts meet and greets. Because also like that was before like now numbers are fake where, like, way more people have 1 million, because this was, I think, right after he'd hit 1 million. And, like, way more people have 1 million, but those people couldn't sell
Oh my
out, like,
God.
meet and greets at VidCon. Do you know what I mean? Like, there used to just be 1 million used to mean
Yeah.
so much more in terms of audience interaction. But also, like, they all kind of look shitty, which I appreciate. Like, they obviously have money and have nice clothes or whatever, but, like, they look like people. Like, they all went to, like, Universal Studios and are, like, dressed in, like, 2014, like, wide neck. The men are wearing wide neck t-shirts with a pocket and stuff, you know, that
the American
time.
Apparel, like, V-neck. Oh God, board shorts, bring it back.
But everyone just kind of looks they look a lot more normal, like real people, I think, than now. And I was like, this is, it's like when we were talking about, like, how the Eagles are, like, the end of Laurel Canyon, being like, nothing comes after this. Like, this is surely the end. Like, there can't be anything after this.
It is the end.
That's what I feel like watching videos in 2014, where I'm like, there's nothing after this that has cultural merit in the online space, as far as I'm concerned, including myself. I'm there. Like, I'm there. But
hey,
you know,
you have cultural merit.
Well, I think like I obviously love commentary content, like, but I do just think for the betterment of society, we should just like go back to, you can't have more than 5,000 followers online. It should also be social media should be like a personal thing again. It should be like a Tumblr blog or MySpace or whatever, where it's like, even Facebook, like, it was just for your friends. It's not to just like gain weird amorphous fame.
Well, do you ever have to like kind of, I feel like you so more than me probably, but like when you meet someone new who's like a new friend and you have to kind of explain like, hey, like my Instagram is not really like, it is like a business tool. Like, don't really expect me to be
personal
fun.
stuff. Like, it's not gonna be just like crazy whatever, you know. It's more it's really just more me kind of like keeping up appearances than anything else.
Yeah. Like it's the foremost communication tool in a way that's kind of weird. It's like, if you want to contact me, it should be through Instagram, but also like my Instagram is so inundated with like crap all the time. I'm barely going to see anything that anyone posts.
Oh yeah, like I'm never going to see anything anyone posts. Like, if you want to contact me, like, sure, DM me. I'll check my DM. But like, I'm not like, I am out of the loop in a good way, I think, generally. But like, if somebody was away on a trip and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know you were there, they'd be like, you didn't see it? And I'd be like, no, like, I've had every story besides like 7 people's stories muted on my Instagram for like a year or more than a year. And it's a bitch to go through and mute everyone. But it's good because then I can check stories when I do log on to Instagram on my laptop and like see the things that I do want to see my friends. Like,
I've muted a lot more people lately just because there were some things that like, there were particular things that people were posting that were sending me spiraling. And I was like, actually, this just straight up is not worth it.
No, it's not.
Exactly. So whatever. Did you see that the airplane that flipped over at Pearson?
Yes.
Holy shit.
On my to-do list today is calling my dad and telling him to stop traveling for work. Because I'm like, in like the last month, that's like the 4th high profile plane crash, dude.
Yikes.
Was landing. Did you see the video of it? So if you're not familiar,
no.
I mean, look it up. But Pearson is the airport in Toronto, and we had a plane crash on Monday, where the plane was landing, and it was like high winds when it was landing. I think they don't know yet, but people are saying like it was high winds or something like that. So when it lands, its wing gets torn off, and then it catches on fire, and it flips over. And everyone's fine, or they're injured, but nobody died.
Which is crazy. Like, thank God.
What the fuck happened? Like, you know how the human brain has such a capacity to be like, yeah, but not me. Like, yes, obviously there's something going on with planes right now, but like it would never happen to me. And then I'm like, oh, the airport I fly in and out of constantly.
Oh, so my airport, the airport that I own.
Oh, the airport that is my third space.
Well, I feel like I feel like I have a Canadian sickness that's like really being brought to the forefront now where like I've always thought because I'm Canadian nothing can happen to me. And now that
Yeah, it's
like
gonna
things
happen
are
to America.
happening in Canada, I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah,
no, that's supposed to happen in this America, not Canada.
Yeah, that
Canada.
first thing that was the convoy. Like when the convoy,
Yeah.
the truckers convoy, which was like in the
It's like,
pandemic,
what?
are anti-vax protesters. A bunch of truckers and their families drove to the Capitol to protest mask mandates. And it's such an annoying like narrative online where people were like, the Black Lives Matter protests were violent, but at the convoy, people put up a bouncy castle for their kids to play. And it's like, okay, no, chill.
No.
Like, that's not just no. But that
Also,
was
they
the
were
first time I
honking
was like,
so much.
yeah, and also like your vibe, like you're just lying. Like, first of all, this is like a group of people that like gleefully get off on being mean. Like it's become conservative
Mhm.
coded to be nasty for no reason, even though you're a virgin, loser, horrible person. Like even you know what I mean? Like I'm like, you should
Yeah.
not be like gleefully happy you're being mean. We can all be mean. We're just choosing to not be mean to you.
Yeah.
You look fucked up. You want to open this can of worms? Like, I don't think you do. But
Yeah.
that was the first one I was like, okay, so stuff is happening in
Oh, no.
Canada. I don't think
Yeah.
it should
It's
be.
bad. No, that was shocking. I remember
The
I was at
plane, dude.
Bloor Bay for whatever reason to go to the movies. Didn't realize the trucker convoy was going through. I was just like, beautiful day to go see a movie.
No.
And I went into
No.
Italy beforehand, and there were a bunch of convoy people there buying fucking
Italy?
coffee from Italy from like the gay ass baristas. I'm like, give me a break.
No, you should be
Like,
going to Second
please.
Cup. This is
Yeah,
Second
go to
Cup. You can't
Second Cup,
you
get
can't
your white
go
hot chocolate,
against
freak.
no, you can't go against like the bourgeoisie
No,
liberal woke leftist agenda. If you're going to go against that, you can't enjoy the wealth of our
no,
agenda,
no, you
i.e.,
cannot.
Italy.
You cannot enjoy the pre-made eggplant parmesan that we get by being the woke left.
Yeah, so what
Please.
is it? You got to
What is
enjoy
it? What's the
conservative
answer?
foods. Boiled chicken breast.
Boiled chicken breasts and
Stofers.
toes. Stofers.
Exactly.
Hungry man heat up meals.
Exactly.
Ugh, good times.
I did that once. Same
Whatever.
thing. I was at Bay and Bloor. It wasn't the convoy, but I was waiting for a friend outside of the Sephora there. We are going to go, I think, either see a movie or like get a coffee there or something. Which, why would we ever go to Bay and Bloor to get a coffee?
It's an amazing neighborhood.
Have questions. I've got issues with my planning. But I remember he was late and I could just hear like, pop, pop. Like I could just hear a drum. And I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
You need to
The
hurry up.
parade.
The parade. The anti-vax parade is coming. They're not here yet, but I can hear the as if I am Jack and in the beanstalk. And I'm hearing fee
Yeah.
fi fo fum. I smelled the blood of an English mug.
Here come the anti-vaxxers.
It's here come the anti-vaxxers and their drum. Like that's what's happening right now.
It's a beautiful rhyme. You should write that.
I know that was a
We gotta get out of here. That was a limerick. That was beautiful. Yeah, looking back, the kind of like parade element of different COVID teams was really fucking weird. Like, even like on the side of pro-vaccination, like what was up with the banging pots and pans out the window because of nurses? Like, did the nurses want that as they were going to their highly stressful shift?
Or at work, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think so much of it obviously just comes from like, I think a lot of people, and you see this even now with like the discourse about hobbies and how no one has hobbies anymore. People gain connection from seemingly work. Like we'd gotten to like actually, and COVID was net bad. Like I'm not arguing that, but I think we kind of got to this point of no return before COVID of like peak capitalism. Everybody's social life revolves simply around work or school or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then taken away. And everyone's social life and means of connection got immediately removed. So it's like then all these things had to be created of ways to see each other, ways to organize, ways to do social things. So I feel like that's really what it was of like people were bored as fuck and they couldn't see anyone. I loved it. Like, to be honest, like I was thriving first year COVID because I was an indoor kid. Like I was not thriving in the sense that my grandparents were actively dying, but like in another sense, I was like, when you're an indoor kid,
doing
like
amazing.
you can like just entertain yourself. Like I really got to see how many of my friends were outdoor kids. And like outdoor kids, not like I was an indoor kid outside. What I mean is play by yourself kid, right? Like
Yes.
a child that didn't need an activity to be done for them, or had like a big group of friends that they would hang out with. Like just a child that would be like, my parents would be like, okay, you need to just go outside for an hour before dinner. And then I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm in Avatar: The Last Airbender for an hour, and then I'll come in for dinner. Because like people like Reese and like who grew up in a neighborhood with like neighborhood friends or whatever, like when that element is removed, it was hard to like do stuff. I think like if I can't meet up with people, I need to now recontextualize what it means to make a plan. Where like for me, I was like, you just kind of go for a walk and you just like kind of play in the palace of your mind.
Yeah, that's like, it would drive me crazy when it was like, let's all hook up our phones and play Among Us. I was like, I just want to draw. I don't really want to do this.
Who were
like,
you in the pandemic? That's the thing, like what was your, because we met before the pandemic, but we became real friends, I would say, after the pandemic.
Yeah, right? I would say that for sure. We were friends, but we weren't nearly as close as we are now.
Yeah, yeah.
And like,
because you really joined comedy post-pandemic. Like you really entered, and that's when I was like,
a post-pandemic comedian.
Truly.
Yeah, I had to validate my skills to you. But no, I think like I was kind of like halfway in between. I think like I was going crazy at the beginning because I think I had that real feeling of like, my life is starting. I'm about to hit the ground running. And then it was like, get inside for 2 years, bitch. What's wrong with you? But
close
like
the door.
Genuinely, like the best part of the pandemic was when I rewatched all of Gossip Girl. Daddy Trudeau was giving us that CERB money.
Sweet
and
money.
I was spending it only on like random fucking shit or nothing. Watching Gossip Girl, I'd make myself a turmeric smoothie every morning, do yoga, then like hit a bong like 7 to 20 times and watch Gossip Girl.
This was, of course,
until eventually that led me into
weed addiction.
It led me into a psychosis, but like
that
but
was before
like
we got there, it was nice.
Yeah, and then I went like in and out of depression, but then I also went back to work. Like I got a intense job at the end part of 2020. So I really just had like that summer was like my big summer off, and I went to Quebec City. Which maybe I shouldn't have done, but it was all outside. Like, you know, I just walked around.
We have more information now. Yeah, I guess when I think about like COVID and it being good or whatever, that's truly just like that first summer. And then afterwards it was just like life. Like I just went to school and I moved back in with my parents, which I do think was like, I think I'll eventually think of it as a good thing, like when my parents die, like knock on wood, but like I'll be like, oh wow, what time I got with them. But like definitely destroyed my brain, like just absolutely decimated my brain, and was just going to university. And I like learning. I don't like school. Like need to admit that now. I think for a long time I was terrified of that because I don't want to be seen as anti-intellectual. I think I would love school if I in any way felt empowered to study anything I was even remotely interested in. But my upbringing was very much like practical. Like you go to school to study something you can get a job in. If I could have just like studied contemporary literature, bitch, I would have loved school.
Huge.
Oh, I would have loved it. But no, I was like taking entrepreneurship 405 at 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's crazy.
At the Cineplex at Yonge and Dundas, because that's where TMU does classes. The Cineplex.
No, that's toxic.
The movie theater.
That's toxic.
Terrible. They have 8 a.m. lectures in the movie theater. It's warm as fuck. It's dark. You're in a comfy movie theater chair. You can smell popcorn. I was asleep immediately. Also, Yonge and Dundas Square, you know, the sidewalk ballet, Jane Jacobson, the beauty of the inner working city, horrifying at 8 a.m. I saw like a couple of times somebody jerking off, you know, and like, hey, you got to do it somewhere. I'm not judging. Society has failed you, but like, why the fuck is my lecture here?
No, I'm so glad sometimes I do regret going to I don't regret where I went to university. Sometimes I'm like, I should have just gone to like Montreal or Toronto or something. But like, damn, it was nice to go to Montreal or just like to university in like a weird little town.
That just seems like you had a really positive experience. Like you out of a lot of people that I know, you are one of the people that I think had a good experience at university. Like liked it, enjoyed it.
Yeah, like,
having
there were,
good
like,
time.
shitty things that
Of
happen
course.
still, like but, like, it was fun, like, I was a fucking hot shot on campus, bitch, like, it was
Hell
fun.
yeah. Well, famously, I love meeting people from Queens who are like, "Oh, I know your friend Blair, she doesn't know me." Like, that's my favorite thing
Yes,
to
which is
receive.
my legacy.
People being like
And,
I'm
like,
like,
I
"Okay, I
don't
guess
wanna
I'm
be a dick, but
literally
I'm like,
friends with the
yeah,
most popular person on Queen's
ever.
campus."
Probably, probably ever. But, like, I feel like I am the same person, but I do feel like there is, like even still with some of my friends from Queens see me in a completely different light than, like, my friends in comedy. Like, I really,
Yes.
like I don't wanna say I've, like, toned it down, but it definitely is, like I'm not everywhere all the time, whereas, like, at Queens, I was everywhere all the time. Like, I did not go
Well,
home, I did not sleep, I did not sit down.
yeah, there is a certain element I feel like of it's exciting. I would imagine that would be exciting when it's first happening in university. Like, you're leaving home and you're in
Mhm.
this environment finally with people who are a bit more, like-minded than you, and you can, like,
Yeah.
actually become popular. Whereas, like, sometimes in high school, it's just like, well, that's just simply
What
not
are
in
we
the
gonna do
cards in
about
the
this?
same way. Like, I can imagine it's
Yeah. It
exciting.
just isn't gonna happen.
And then in adult life, you can just kind of tone it down because 'cause you're just like, "I don't care as much." Like, I wanna do stuff that's fun, but, like,
Yeah.
it just becomes less pertinent in the way that, like, in university, you're like I remember in university being, like, so, like, torn not torn up, but, like, it was a big concern of mine that I was like, I felt like I didn't have enough friends actually at university, like, all of my friends were in comedy, and now as an adult, I'm
Mm.
like, well, yeah, because 'cause I've never really subscribed to the thing where there's a lot of people in comedy who are like, "I can never be friends with comedians," and I'm like, "Well, stand-up comedians, yes, obviously, but, like,
Yeah.
improvisers,
Improvisers are really
I
nice.
love." Yeah, um, but I remember that being, like, a big worry because it does really feel like in university it's like, this is your chance. Like, okay, adult life, let's go,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's so interesting now to have friends like it's fun to have friends who just do a bunch of different things, like hot take, but like I do think that some people really kind of narrow their friend group down to just
Mhm.
people who have lives very similar to theirs, which I understand. I'm just so the opposite. I love to have just people who do different things. Like it's way more fun to be like,
Well,
what the fuck is up?
definitely. I think also, like, I've been thinking about this a lot. I watched a video essay, which I'm also gonna start doing now, of saying where I get my information. Like, not being like, "I read an article," and it's, like, for sure just, like, a video.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I just want you all to
It
know,
was a
like,
TikTok.
where the information is coming from so you can kind of deal with it accordingly. Decide how much of it you wanna
Mhm, mhm.
take, but, it's just again, I'm not on TikTok, so I kind of get all of my discourse about TikTok from video essays about TikTok. So it's kind of a broken
Mhm.
telephone situation, and for sure an echo chamber. Like, I'm just watching people confirming my own biases about social media, which is
Yeah.
sick, so cool.
Mhm.
But just
Love
talking about, I guess,
it.
like a big discourse right now is that nobody has hobbies and people are trying to get hobbies, but like people are trying to get hobbies like based kind of on like the aesthetic of a life of like, oh, what kind of person do I want to be? Like, not what they enjoy. Like, a lot of people are taking up painting without considering, like, do they like painting or do they just want to be a person who paints kind of vibes?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's so hard to get a hobby as an adult. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just lucky that I've been doing comedy for 10 years at this point,
Yeah.
and I know I like it. I know that I like it, and everything that I do that's also a hobby is in many ways an offshoot of that, of like,
Mhm.
you know, and it's also like adult friendships. Like, I meet people through comedy who are different than me because like I'm friends with a lot of actors and I'm not really like a proper actor that's interesting to me, or writers, or just like
Yeah.
you just meet people at shows, like audience members or whatever, like people just doing different things. Um
Mhm.
it's just great. Like, when you really think about it, you're really lucky to, like, have a hobby, and we have other hobbies as well, like but I think if you have one hobby, it's a lot easier to, like, expand it, and maybe comedy as a
Yeah.
hobby isn't the right word because, like, I do think for us, like, it's a passion and a part that at least if not is, informs your career path. The problem with a lot of
Oh,
comedy is you
yeah.
just don't really make money from it. Like, so I can't be like,
Yes.
"It's my job," because, like, in a way it's my job, but it's 1% of my income, maybe 5, like, maybe. Maybe.
But it's all it all, like,
I don't even
ties
wanna
in,
do the
like,
math on that.
I know, I don't want to either. Cause I've been tracking my income. And so like every time like a show sends me $10, I put it in the sheet and I'm like,
Yeah.
we're moving up.
Yes!
Yay! But no, I know what you mean. Like, I feel like whenever someone's like, do you have any hobbies? I'm like, not really, because just like everything I do is like kind of
My
a
life is a
hobby.
hobby. Yeah,
Yeah, like
we
my life
chase
is just like a
whimsy.
culmination of all my hobbies. Hey, except for I guess like reading and like, but like even stuff like, oh, I like engage with like a lot of content on the internet, which I also make. And then like I like to engage
Yeah.
with comedy, which I also make. I like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's fun, but then it's like I don't really have time to paint, nor do I really want to because it's messy.
I'm
And
bad at
that then
visual art. I would love to be a
I
visual art girl, but I'm just
I
not.
love
I like graphic
visual art.
design, but fuck, I'm bad at
Ooh,
it.
graphic design.
Well, I that was a part of my university degree, my fake ass fucking
That's cool.
degree, my creative
Hey,
industries degree from the creative school from Toronto Metropolitan University. Like that's a chat GBT ass
yeah.
degree, which I don't have,
Hey,
by the way. Let's talk about it. Three
yeah. I was
credits
gonna
shy.
say
I think this year it expires to the point in which like I don't know if I can ever graduate, but like
good.
that's fine with me. We'll figure it
That's
out.
okay. You can go to Oxford or
They invite
something
me to
one day.
this is what I like I feel like what I'm going to do. Here's my life image and then we'll get back to you living your life with whimsy and hobbies.
Thank
Is
you.
that like I'm going to do all this stuff right now. I've become obsessed with this show called Hyori's Homestay or Hyori's Bed and Breakfast, which is about a K-pop star who I think she's in her 40s now, but she got married and she just like moved to Jeju Island to just like live a chill life. And they have this
Mhm.
house. And then it's a TV show where her and her husband have like basically run like a bed and breakfast and people come and stay in it or whatever. But it's just like this really chill life. Like there's no bad things really happen. Like
Oh,
the worst thing that happens is they're like, oh no, we're cooking fish for everyone and the fish stuck to the pan. Like, what
oh,
are we gonna do?
amazing.
But I love
Wow.
that. So I feel like my vibe is like simply I hate capitalism, but like just ride the capitalism wave as much as I can now and
Hmm.
into my 30s. And then just like vibe.
Dip.
And then I
Yeah.
feel like in my 40s, go back to university for something that I am interested in, maybe.
I love that.
All that's to say is I think maybe because you and I both have unique schedules, it's also not easier, but I would be like it'd be hard if I worked a 9 to 5 every day
Mhm.
and then came home and you have to cook dinner, let's say maybe, and unless maybe cooking is your hobby.
Disgusting. Yeah.
You have to
People
eat
love
every
to cook,
day,
which is
and then
insane.
you have to
Let's
like
say.
I know. I'm like that's one of my New Year's resolutions was to like get better at cooking, like to just develop skills that I do not
Mhm.
have, i.e., figure out how to make tofu good. That's really up there. That's
Let me know if
really
you
high.
figure it out. I've
I
made it.
figured out a good texture thing. Like
Yeah.
I figured out how to make the texture really crispy and delicious. I
Nice.
gotta marinate it. That's what I think I've got to do next. But
Yes.
like I use potato starch.
Nice.
You cut it up into small pieces, toss it in oil and potato starch, and then bake it. And that texture is fucking delicious. But then you bite into it and you're like, that's tofu. So I think I've got to marinate it. All
Yes.
that's to say is like you gotta cook and then you do your hobby. Like it would be
Like when?
difficult. I feel like so much of your life, if your life is a 9 to 5, is immediately taken up.
Yes.
Like maybe you can do your hobby on your weekends, like you can do hiking or something, but it's I think that maybe is also where this discourse is coming from because like I know people who go from like working full time to then they go to like freelance or they get a schedule that's more similar to us where it's like you're not like a proper like influencer or a proper like actor, like you have other things to do. Like our lives are more full of work from different elements and different areas of our lives,
Yeah.
right? But
Oh,
you still
100%.
do have more free time than the average bear. um
Mhm.
and I wonder if like that's like whenever somebody, because I've been like on this fucking weird schedule for like not 3 years now, but like maybe 3 years. And when people like I know go into it, they'll sometimes be like, well, what do you do? Because like I'm going crazy. And I'm like, you literally just have to enter retirement mode. Like you do just kind of have to do what you would do if you were semi-retired and like
Mhm.
figure out the stuff you also like to do. Like Do you like to go see movies? Do you like to go on walks? Like, what is the other things that you like to do to fill out your day? Because really what happens is there's like 2 weeks where you're like, I'm never gonna see you. I'm so sorry. I'm banking too many hours a week. Like, I'm just never gonna see you. I'm so busy. But then you'll have like a week where you're like, I guess I'm gonna go see The Brutalist at 11 on a Tuesday. Like, is that my journey?
Yeah, which you didn't show up to, by the way.
Okay, well, the crystals in my ears got dislodged. So as far as, let me just say,
that's fine. I'm not mad.
I feel horrible about it.
No,
I feel really bad about it. But I
had a great day.
I would argue that if out of everyone in that group's excuse,
you had the best excuse.
Mine was the best. It was still an excuse.
You had a real excuse. You had a real excuse. You didn't have a fake ass excuse for not showing up to the Brutalist at 11 a.m. No, and then it made me feel weird the whole rest of the day. And that's
of course,
because The Brutalist, hard movie to watch. That's 4 hours long.
Yeah, I'm taking your advice on that, and I think when I do go see it, I'm gonna see it like kind of in the night because, like you said, you just kind of want to go to bed after. Speaking of our friends, Nothing But Love and Light, love those guys so much. I've been reading a book about Buddhism.
Okay.
And the amount of time in my life, and I think this will be really good self-development for me. Our friends do something, and I have to just be like, it's an inevitability of life that we will experience anguish. And anguish comes from craving, and I'm letting it go.
Yeah.
Like the ways in which, and because I love, like, I think as an adult, you kind of grow up and learn, like, people in your life are going to do stuff that pisses you off, but like, you love them to a greater extent than you want to challenge them on it. But I'm like, I am doing so much self-improvement where somebody will send a text and I'll be like,
you're better
anguish
at
is
this
inevitable.
You're way better at this than me. I truly, like, the other day,
I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the thing that I'm
oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, oh my god, yeah. Well, like, I think I am pretty
you
good
texted
at,
me about that because I saw it and actually tried to explain it to Reese because it was so
no, I screamed out loud.
I was like, what is happening? What do you mean?
I literally screamed, like, out loud. Like, out loud, I went, you're fucking kidding me. Like, I was just like, shut up. That is so annoying. Funny. No, I was losing my damn mind. I was not okay.
No.
But yeah. No, I know what you mean. I do think I'm pretty good at, like, letting things just kind of happen, but I feel like maybe I've gone, like, a little bit too far. I think sometimes I have, like, a fear that I let people walk all over me, and I don't know how valid that is. You know?
Yeah, it's hard with stuff like that because, like, if it's a narrative, you want to know if, like, the narrative exists in your mind because it's true, or because if it's a fear of yours. In actuality, it's not true, but it's a belief. Like, when people believe that they're, like, inherently low status, and you're like, you're not. This is just like a thought in your brain. Because I don't necessarily think you let people walk all over you, but I can understand that narrative in your brain, specifically because I think that you are really good at, like, kind of what we were talking about in the Patreon episode of, like, being judgmental is not what people perceive it to be. It's not actually judgmental because you are identifying people's behavior that you might not agree with, but still, like, choosing to love them and give them grace. Well, like, so often somebody acts in an insane way, and I'm like, that's crazy. But, like, who am I to
let's ball?
Like, let's ball, but simply let's ball.
Let's fucking ball.
So I can understand from your narrative of, like, you are perceptive to, like, the ways in which I think people treat you, and you can identify it, but then you have to parse whether or not that behavior is valid or ultimately not something that you want to have in your life, if that makes sense. Like, I think people who really let people walk all over them aren't even aware of it. But you are friends with such a wide variety of people who meet you in different places and come from different contexts that, like, you can't just have, like, a one size fits all rule for how friendship is supposed to go.
Well, yeah, I was my girlfriend was getting on my case about this just in the way that, like, she was like, just because you
love that, and we've
identify
it's Girl Historians Official.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you just kind of have to link, but she was getting on my case about it where she was like, if you just because you know what people are doing that's wrong to you doesn't mean it's like, just because you've identified it and chosen to accept it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. And I was like, damn, actually get off my fucking case.
First of all,
actually
fuck off.
Yeah, first of all, people are leaving me alone. You don't know my life.
Yeah.
Second of all, yeah, good point. I'll consider it. But
yeah,
no,
it's so
very
hard, right? Like, I don't know what the right thing to do is.
It's like two
I have
people
no
can
answer.
make a video about pop culture.
Love.
And
I
it's
think
actually
we
not
talk
have to like not think about it. Is that it's pop.
Should we talk about history?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's take a little break and then we'll go for it. Let's get the fun news. I'm just so excited for it to not be snowing so that I can feel joy and happiness again.
I know. I like want to spend so much more time outside, but I can't.
I want to go to a park so bad.
Yes, I want to go to the beach.
All I want to
so bad.
Oh my god.
Reese and I were talking about how we're going to become like beach bums in the summer. And instead of like trying to get like a big beach thing together, like with a bunch of people, just being like, we're gonna go today if anybody wants to come. But I'm gonna go regardless of whether or not like the group is going. Because I feel like that's where the plans sometimes die. Is like planning ahead of time as opposed to just being like, I'm going to the beach. You guys can come if you want.
Yes. No, that is the way to do group plans. That is the secret where you're like, I'm doing this thing. I'm going regardless. If you come or not will not affect me doing it. And then people, I feel like I'm way more inclined to join that, where I'm just like,
definitely,
okay, well,
because you're not like, is it happening? Is it not? Like, there's none of the like baggage associated.
Yes, I know. I want to be in the water so bad. I can't wait to be. I wanted to get a new swimsuit last year, and then it just kind of fell to the wayside, and I forgot about it. But this year, I've got like such a specific vision of the swimsuit I want.
Ooh,
and I'm determined to find it. I want something that kind of like the bottoms are like little shorts.
I love that. I would love that too, because not to be TMI or whatever, but like I cannot shave my fucking pubes every time I want to wear a bathing suit.
Oh no, it's insane. It's just like,
why do
so
I have
would you rather
why is
my
it so
pubes
wide?
or would you rather me see? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is like? Would you rather me have pubes or like a rash?
Yeah,
from and like overshaving. Like,
assumedly everybody's in the same shape. So like, why is the fucking bathing suit design not? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would we not just make it?
Oh yeah,
so that it's covered.
Well, and like bathing suits, I feel like are also like for some reason like tinier than underwear too. So it's like, why wouldn't you just take the underwear design and make that a bathing suit? Like, it's baffling to me.
I know,
but I want like little shorts and then like some type of like when I say shorts, I don't mean like board shorts. I mean like little like boy short, kind of like
boy
retro
shorts
style.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then I care less about the top, but I do want something that kind of like because sometimes I find it's just like I want something that's like a little bit more like a bra in terms of like just keeping everything safe.
Secure. Yes.
Well, the other thing that's lame about me is that like I actually, if I want to avoid getting burned, I actually just cannot show that much skin. Like there's no world where like no amount of
just cover up.
No, I have to cover up. And so like if I can find like a cute
linen shirt too, like a big old, I know you already have some, but like I feel like that's like the move for the summer wardrobe is like a little bathing suit and then just like men's button up shirts on top for protection.
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah, I want to get like a good cover up too that doesn't give I'm ashamed of my body.
Yes, it's just like, oh no, I'm covering up, but like yeah,
I'm afraid of
totally.
The sun.
Yeah.
I don't want sunspots.
I love
Speaking
a button
of
up
sunspots,
for that.
I know, I love a button. Oh my god. No,
what
I need to
have sunspots for.
Henry VIII has sunspots because he's dead, probably.
He probably did.
And
I don't have any information about his.
This is me trying to force transitions.
Yeah. I hope that the right clips that. Just saying, this is me trying to force transitions, and then you're on Fox News being like, Canadian queer wants kids to be trans.
And you know what? Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it out.
I go back on, I retaliate. I say, actually, I'm a socialist.
I'm not actually a communist.
I only want kids to be gay. No, kids can be trans or gay. Kids can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like,
Who
when can we
cares?
forget that along the when people are just like, "Oh, like, trans kids, like, oh, we gotta protect like, stop kids from being trans." It's like, kids are gonna do whatever they want. Like, they're children.
Well, that's this thing that's so weird
Chill
about
out.
the narrative of being like, they don't know who they are yet. Of being like, yeah, so a child, like
Yeah.
a kid.
Like a kid.
I watched the Meghan Markle, like she has a new show on Netflix, like the trailer for it on YouTube, and every comment was so vile, and no one has yet to explain to me what is an actual legitimate reason to hate this woman. Like, it's just racism,
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, and like hating women. Like,
Mhm.
that's all it is. It's like the Blake Lively
Yeah.
of it all over again, of being like, you don't have to like her, but like, who cares if she's mean? I don't really give a fuck if Meghan Markle's a diva. Like, that's none of my business. I don't care. I don't think we should be levying the insult that women are mean at other women. But
Mhm.
also, like, I was just watching it and I was like, looking at all these comments and I was like, I simply couldn't care about a person this much to hate them this much.
Yeah.
Like, it is like fan behavior. Like, every comment is a hate comment. And people were like, I rushed to the comments to see all the hate comments. And I was like, so you're a fan. Like, you just are a fan.
So you're a fan. So you're
So it's
engaging.
like when people are obsessed
You're providing
with anything
engagement
that they hate in that narrative of being like, people who hate trans people. I'm like, if you really hated something like this, it would actually be indifference, but there's something worse here. There's something more insidious and twisted here in terms of your obsession.
Well, did you see that guy, that like Republican politician who would like put on women's clothing and post on Twitter being like, oh, like, this is me, like, you have to accept my gender kind of thing? Did you see this?
No.
It's this like senator, or this, and he's not like a senator, but he's some sort of like freak.
Yeah, he is some senator freak.
Josh Cedar or something, political activist, Juris Doctor, sure. And then wait, let me see. Wait, okay. So I'm not sure if this is real. So if it turns out to be not real, I'll cut it from the podcast. But it's just him posting like rage bait of him dressing up like a woman and being like, I'm pregnant with Elon's baby because I'm a woman now. I decided I'm a woman. And then it's like an announcement that's just like, Josh was found unresponsive in his hotel room. And then it goes back to just like these cute posts of just like, so like he may or may not be dead.
Oh my God.
But it's unverified. Like, it could be that his Twitter's been hacked, but I'm like, imagine if that's your legacy. Like, you die and the last thing you posted was rage bait for trans people. Like, fan behavior. That's your like final words. Yeah.
That's insane.
No, it's
funny.
It's fan behavior. And he also was found to have like a porn account of like fetish that's like belly inflation or something.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course.
Of course, why not?
Like, it's like just when mind your own business and enjoy your fetish content. You have to make it everyone else's problem by being a bigot.
You have to project by being bigoted. Like, just chill out.
Just be a freak.
It's the same.
There's no like, shame in the game. Be a little.
It's like Elon Musk getting caught liking hentai posts, and then he made it so that no one can see your likes ever again. Like, these are the men in charge of the world. Like, we've fallen so far.
Yeah, that's really wild. Fine, no one can ever see likes ever again. So I can like hentai in peace.
It's okay, but like, why are you liking hentai on your main? Dude, you're
Get
Elon
a burner.
Musk.
Bro,
Get a burner,
dude. A burner.
That's because people kept figuring out his burners. Because he's stupid. Because he doesn't know what he's doing.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean to have like the most like baseline opinions on him, but like, what a fucking idiot.
I know.
Speaking of idiots, Henry VIII.
Haha.
So let's freaking go. So Henry VIII, this is our final episode on him, and we're talking about the succession that follows the death of Henry VIII. Because it's kind of
bitch is dead.
A little bitch is the ding dong, the witch is dead. And the succession is messy. But it's pretty it's kind of just messy, like, period. You know what I mean?
Good news. So he's dead.
the Henry VIII is dead. Boom. So Henry has 3 children, as we know. So he's got Edward with Jane Seymour. Edward was born in 1537. He's got Mary with Catherine of Aragon, who was born in 1516. So 21 years older than Edward. And then he has Elizabeth with Anne Boleyn in 1533. So Mary is significantly older than her 2 younger half-siblings. All 3 of Henry VIII's kids sat the British throne, which is kind of
iconic.
Nuts.
That's awesome.
You know what I like? It's
we
a little bit weird.
Don't have enough British royal, like we don't have enough people ascending the throne. Like it's just been Queen Elizabeth for so long, and now it's like I want like bang. I mean, obviously that's kind of me saying that I want them to all die, but I want like okay, King Charles is dead. Now we have King William. Something happens. Now we have a child king. We have fucking King. What's his full?
Andy? Archie?
Archie. No, Archie's Harry's. Henry. Maybe. Might be Henry. I can just look this up. Williams.
We gotta have fixed terms or something just so we can like speed run a couple of monarchs because like, yeah, you're so right. Like, what if I'm just kind of not feeling one of them? George. Because he used to they would get killed in battle and stuff. No one's getting killed in battle anymore.
Like everyone just used to die from disease at like 30.
Yeah, there's no disease or battle anymore. So we got these long ass monarchs. Like, let me see some variety. Yeah. Let me test the waters. Let me see who I like.
The royals have two good
it's kind of
doctors.
sexy. No, they need to have
I want a young royal.
Yes. Give the doctors. Give the royals the worst doctors to kind of try things out on. And everyone benefits.
It should kind of be the thing of like you go. That's not smart. No. You go. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
I was just going to continue talking about it.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying you should just do that. I don't even really feel good about the joke I was going to say. Not in terms of being offensive. I just don't really think it's that funny.
It was just like kind of barely a joke.
Yeah, it's not even like not funny because it's offensive. It's literally just like basically saying what you just said, but different words. You know what I mean? Like I'm not adding to the conversation.
Yeah. You were just kind of taking my thing. You were doing that thing where like I say something, you say something quietly, and then like a boy says it louder and they get a laugh. You're the boy in this scenario.
The boy. Yeah, I'm the boy from the movie The Boy.
You're from the movie The Boy, from Boyhood.
From Boyhood.
So Henry barely spends time with Edward. Obviously, he's so excited when Edward is born to Jane Seymour. Jane Seymour dies afterwards, pretty soon afterwards, from like complications in the birth, et cetera, et cetera. So he's like hugely excited, but also like borderline like paranoid about keeping this kid safe, right?
Yeah.
So Henry barely spends time with him. He's obsessed with him, obsessed with keeping him safe. He has like his room cleaned every day. Edward is educated by Protestant scholars, and so he grows up being like very pro-religious reform. Him and Elizabeth grow really close because they're closer in age, but Mary is older. She's very Catholic, and so she's kind of an outlier in this like squad of kids.
Okay.
There's a Treaty of Greenwich, which recommended that they unify Scotland and England by marrying Edward to the infant's heir to the Scottish throne, which is Mary, Queen of Scots. It was like super rejected by the Scottish Parliament, obviously, because like, you know what, we talk a lot about Ireland not wanting to be part of the UK.
Same thing.
We need to put some respect on Scotland's name in the way that the Scots want nothing to do with
nothing. No, they just vote. Like they're just constantly, I feel like, voting, being like, we are going to legalize gay marriage. We want to legalize abortion. We don't want to be a part of Brexit. We don't like what you guys are doing. Really organized.
You guys are being weird. And they are consistent through this. Like, let's put some respect on Scotland wanting England to fall off into the ocean.
Into the ocean? Yeah.
into the sea. So obviously this idea was rejected by the Scottish Parliament super hard. And then England invaded Scotland and tried to force the agreement. Obviously it didn't work. It was kind of abandoned. So then Henry dies in 1547. So as we talked about in the last episode, he's a little chubby. He's got a couple of love handles going on, as in he's so big he cannot move without the use of machines.
Rolled around, on machines.
He's kind of being rolled around. He's got lots of oozing sores. He's not doing well. He dies.
Jesus Christ, man. And yeah.
And I hope no one can ever speak about me in that fashion. I hope when I die, I have minimal sores.
It could have been the sores.
It could have been the sores. I hope I have good hip mobility and no sores when I die.
I've been doing so many like stretches for mobility. Recently, just trying to stretch every day. And
nice.
I mean, I've been doing it for like a week and a half, and I'm so pissed that I'm like, I'm not really seeing a difference. I've been doing it for 10 days, and I'm like,
yeah.
But I really feel like if I don't stretch every day, I have really flexible hips, but really, really tight hamstrings, which apparently is really bad for your lower back because like there's nothing for your lower back to like latch onto, like
stand on.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I don't want to be, I would love to be walking for as long as possible into my elderly life. I think that's a big game changer if you can kind of get around on your own.
I feel like we're going to be old ladies doing like mall walks together.
Yes. Every once in a while, I'm out and I see like old women just kind of sitting at a restaurant at 11 a.m. And I'm like, cannot wait. I can't wait.
Cannot wait. What a fucking dream.
Yeah.
I was in Chinatown pretty early in the morning about a week ago. And it was at the time where like all the old Asian ladies were out doing their grocery shopping, just like in like friend groups. And I was like, this is like actually my dream.
Yes.
And I felt like so honored. I was like,
to just be a part of it.
Like, I cannot believe that I'm grocery shopping at the same time as you. Like, this is beautiful. Like, they
show up in fucking fits too, dude. Like,
oh my God. Like, truly, like, I was trying so hard not to take like pictures of some of the fits.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's stunting. Like, it's truly, I've been on Pinterest a lot lately. And I think that like, Pinterest is interesting because I love it for inspiration, but sometimes you just end up pinning things that are clearly like meant for Pinterest. They're not from real life. And I've been pinning a lot of like old people's outfits or like like men in the 90s and stuff like this. Cause it's just like, oh, like I've been obsessed with this idea of like functional dress and trying to make that stylish as opposed to having like
about this. Yes.
Because then your clothes look lived in, they look usable, like you look like you're dressing for your life as opposed to like all of your best items being unwearable in your day-to-day life.
Yes. No, it's functional. It's a game changer. And I think it also makes getting dressed easier because you're not thinking what's the cutest outfit I can make immediately. Like, and you're not thinking of just like stuff that's made to be taken pictures of and put on the internet. Like when you think of stylish or whatever, you're thinking like for us, like warmth needs to be taken into consideration with basically everything you wear. Like you just need to be thinking like, what is warm? What can I wear that will keep me nice and cozy? And it's such an easier place to build from. And the clothes look worn. Like it looks like you're wearing your clothes.
No, it's amazing. And it's like, if you want to see like functional fashion, look at old people in your city. Like stunting. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So Henry VIII dies in 1547 and little Edward is crowned Edward VI. He is 9 years old.
Bring it back, dude. Bring it back.
Bring back making little boys kings before their balls have dropped.
Yes.
I think this is why we've lost culture.
Yep.
Nothing can go wrong. So Edward's uncle, Edward Seymour, Duke of Somerset, brother of Jane Seymour and Thomas Seymour, who the Seymours are fucking around. He's Duke of Somerset, and he acts as Edward's governor and Lord Protector of the realm. But by 1550, Seymour has been replaced in a palace coup led by John Dudley, who's Duke of Northumberland. Seymour at one point even attempts to hold Edward hostage at Hampton Court in a bid to retain power. Obviously, it doesn't work. And so this Dudley guy is now...
I wouldn't react well to just like somebody's trying to convince me, but they were holding like a 9-year-old hostage. I just think I'd be like, you might even be making some good points right now, but I'm just not receptive to what's happening. Let him go.
Yeah. Like, just like, don't like, let him go. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So John Dudley is now in this thing. It's also a lot of Edward's reign, obviously, because he was a child for the entirety of it, was just like a lot of just kind of like No,
What a
truly, like,
sentence. What a
he was
sentence.
a child for the entirety of his reign, which is fucking rough. And he
Yeah.
truly just, like, was like a pawn to these, like, men who were
Yeah.
grasping at power, which is a bummer. We hate to see it.
No, it's not the
So he
best.
reigned, it's not the best, but his reign was short, but it was kind of, you know, it oversaw the foundations of what would become the English Reformation. But overall, England was a mess. There was lots of fighting. There was a bad economy,
And,
and
like,
people didn't
it's
love that he was a
when have
super
they not been a
Protestant.
mess? You
Well,
know?
that's what I'm saying. And I'm also just kind of like, I you have to infer that people could see pretty clearly that this was a child being manipulated by men
Yep.
in higher powers trying to get, like, Protestantism spread across the country. Like, I feel like the citizens of England weren't that dumb to not see what was happening.
Yes. You have to give credit where credit is due. And the credit is due
Mhm.
here in that the people of England probably could correctly identify a child in power
Yes.
and see them being used as a pawn.
Yeah. I'd say, like, probably not the vibe, actually.
Mm.
So, also during this time, Elizabeth is a teenager, and she is being courted by Thomas Seymour, who we know about from last episode because he married Catherine Parr after Henry VIII died. So then this guy fucking comes back, Thomas Seymour fucking comes back to court, starts hitting on Elizabeth while married to
Oh.
Catherine Parr still. Like,
Oh.
messy, messy, messy. Because he's trying to, like,
Get
leverage
power.
himself into a position of power.
Yeah, of course.
Um, Obviously that was treason. He was executed, and
You would think with,
Elizabeth's
like, the
relationship
threat
with Edward deteriorated.
like, you just think with
Of
the threat
execution?
of execution, you just wouldn't be as messy. Like, you know, people kind of always talk about, like, "Oh, cancel culture. The culture wars mean that nobody can do anything anymore." And it's like, in the past, you would get killed, and people
Yeah,
still
you
act
would
like
get
out of pocket. So I think you're fine. Like, I think people are okay.
yeah. No, it's bananas. Like, it's you could have gotten executed. You're just getting canceled
Yeah.
on Twitter, babe. Like, relax.
Yeah,
So Elizabeth
what you're
and
experiencing
yeah.
is the consequences of your actions. So that's that.
Sorry, my cat just sneezed literally 15 times so fast. I don't know if the mic picked that up. That was
No, but
crazy.
it sounds cute.
She was like like that. I'm like, girl,
Oh,
are
I
you
love
okay?
her.
She got a
I
feather in her
love
nose.
her.
One time she got a feather on her nose and she kept sneezing, and that was so cute.
That's
But must have
so
been
cute.
uncomfortable. It's like a little feather, and she was like, it was adorable.
She's so sweet.
I know.
I
She's
love
the
her.
best. I love her too. I hope she never dies. So Elizabeth's relationship with Edward obviously not doing well after that because she was flirting with this guy and her child brother kills him. So
Yeah.
she's sort of like, all right, fuck you. Also, this guy, Edward, he is sick all the time. Like, he is sickly. Like, he's sickly from birth. Could it be
He's
that they
me.
were constantly sanitizing his room?
So
he
got
had no
germs. He had no access to
no.
any germs at all. Yeah.
Yeah. He's also just, like, not well. He ends up dying in 1553 at age 15, probably from tuberculosis.
Honestly, dude, everything is tuberculosis.
Everything
When you
is
start
tuberculosis, like John Green
looking
says.
for tuberculosis, like John Green says, when
You'll
you just
find
start
it.
looking for it,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, Jim. Jim is zooming behind you. Oh,
she's on one. Don't mind her. She's just
it's
punching
crazy.
across my apartment.
Yeah, she's just running
We
full
accept
tilt.
the tuberculosis we think we deserve. No, this is Jim's favorite thing
when
to
you
do.
think
Is
about
just
it, you put the
sort of
killing
punch.
thing between your mouth, between your
Love,
lips.
but you don't let it tuberculosis.
Yeah, you put the killing thing between your lips, parentheses, tuberculosis, but you don't let it kill you, parentheses, you do. Probably.
You do.
It might kill you.
It's tuberculosis.
Yeah.
It might. So while he's sick, so now we've got Edward. He's already a child, and B, sick with presumably tuberculosis. John Dudley, who's like the Lord Protector, the guy who's like kind of puppeteering everything that Edward does, he persuades Edward to name Lady Jane Grey as his heir.
Oh, this is what this there's a show about this.
Yeah, they made I was reading it. It's like a comedy show. I kind of want to watch it.
I've been watching Pop Culture Jeopardy, and they reference that a lot on it.
Stunning.
Like, people really, I feel like she has something to do with a pirate too. Maybe she gets in a relationship with a pirate people who actually know the show are listening to this screaming right now.
Well,
Because
I
it's
feel like
probably
the show
wrong.
must be revisionist history because she does not fare super well, let's just say. But she is like a great niece or something of Henry VIII. So she's in the line of succession, but she's behind Mary and Elizabeth.
Okay.
John Dudley says, like, hey, you should appoint this girl as your heir because she's a Protestant, and Mary is next. So if you don't do this, she's a Catholic and she's going to come back in and we're going to have a Catholic monarch. That's going to be bad.
Gotcha.
Let's get Lady
They
Jane
don't
Grey
want...
in here. And so he pushes her. He writes this thing saying, like, hey, she's actually my heir, Lady Jane Grey. And Mary and Elizabeth actually aren't in the line of succession. So blah, 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 blah.
I'm looking up a picture of her. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing a different painting that does not inspire the most confidence in how she ends up.
No.
It looks as though she might be getting
executed. Yeah, I would say if you're thinking execution, you're thinking the right thing.
Yeah.
So John Dudley also marries Lady Jane Grey to his son. She's 16 during all of this, by the way. And she's described as being abrasive, dour, and pious. So she's maybe not the most fun.
Obsessed with her.
Yeah. She's also kind of like, from all accounts that I could find, it was kind of like she would have been okay if she wasn't just kind of like overly involving herself and stuff. Like Mary at one point is like, I don't really want to kill her. Like, could we just like get her in with a priest to get her to like look at some like Protestant ideals? And she's like, no, I will be Protestant. I will be leader. I'm a Nuda. And Mary's like, okay,
Catholic.
Is it
Catholic ideals? They wanted her to become a Catholic?
Yeah, they wanted her to become a Catholic.
Okay,
Sorry, I said Protestant. Okay. My Irish ancestors are spinning in their graves.
But yeah, okay. So they were like, well, maybe we don't have to kill her. We can just like teach her how to be different. Like if she wants to be Catholic. And then Lady Jane Grey was like, nope, absolutely not.
Yeah, basically. She's like, no, actually, she's just like kind of overly involved in the way this sort of like, girl, like if you just kind of like step back, you could have spared your life. But
well, you know when you're like trying to throw your friend a bone, like you're trying to throw your friend a bone, we're like, oh, well, you probably did that because you didn't know, you didn't have all this context. And you're like, no, I did.
And it's like, no,
and I did anyway.
No, I knew. And I did it. And I did it anyway. So there's an act called the High Treason Act. It's penned in 1547, and it basically makes it high treason to interrupt the line of succession.
Okay, so that does not seem great.
It's not great. So Edward, or aka the people who are manipulating him, try to use the devise for the succession, which is an act that he writes that tries to interrupt the succession of Mary and then Elizabeth to put Lady Jane Grey above it. But because Mary has widespread support, and she also has the Third Succession Act, which was the act that restored her and Elizabeth to the line of succession while Catherine Parr was married to Henry VIII. And she's got the Treason Act. So she wins, basically. Like, they're basically like, this is bullshit. Like, you've written nothing. This is clearly not really written by the king. This is devised by, like, John Dudley, whatever.
Yeah.
So Mary comes in with a ton of support.
Because the queen, let's say it, the king was an ill 15-year-old. Like,
yeah, the king was like a dying teen boy who probably wanted to be like jacking off to like whatever the like medieval equivalent of hentai was at the time.
Yeah,
a portrait, a picture in a locket. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, what do you
exactly like, a single strand of hair, like something like that.
Like a gust of wind through the window. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he wants to jerk off and then die.
Yeah, sometimes that little breeze gets you real horny.
Well,
so Mary comes in. You got nothing else, so you just got a little breeze.
If porn doesn't exist, like, all of a sudden a breeze looks pretty good.
Breeze looks pretty good to me. So Mary comes in with a ton of support, including Elizabeth. She takes over. Lady Jane Grey and her husband are executed. And as I said, Lady Jane Grey is just like a lot more fiery in this than people expect. And she becomes referred to as the 9-day queen in history. She was queen for 9 days, but she was never coronated. Also, there's also reports that like her actual reign could have been up to 2 weeks, but history knows her as the 9-day queen. So we know her as the 9-day queen. And it's also the
past. Like this Tudor history, man. There's no dates.
There's no dates. So Mary I then ascends the throne. She's 37 years old, and she's widely considered the first uncontested female monarch. Slay! She reigned for 5 years.
Okay.
So initially she goes in and she wants to reverse the anti-Catholic policies that like her father and her brother put in place. She's just sort of like, I just kind of want like Catholics to have rights. But then pretty quickly she starts
crazy take.
Yeah, she's like, Catholics should have rights. And they're like,
no. Whoa.
But then pretty quickly she revives England's heresy laws and she starts openly persecuting Protestants and burning them at the stake.
Mary.
Rough. Yeah, kind of goes a little bit downhill. So her ruthless pursuit of heretics results in the public execution of nearly 300 Protestants. And history then consequently knows her as Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
I could not look in a mirror for a year because of this bitch. Scared the shit out of me.
Yes, me too. I remember like one time being in the school bathroom and somebody trying to do it and like being, you know, when you're like kind of like ha ha ha, ha and then you like the vibes immediately change to you being like stop,
like, stop, don't do it, so scary, dude. So scared. And also like the funny thing was about that, I'm like, I don't even think she did anything. She would just come out of the mirror. Hate that.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't want to see her.
Also early in her reign, like right as she takes the throne, she imprisons Elizabeth in the Tower of London because she was worried about her plotting against her.
Love that.
So she's imprisoned in the Tower of London from March 1554 to May 19th of that year, which was the anniversary of her mom's death. And then she goes into house arrest. So her sister's just like, even though you rode in here with me and you supported me, I actually don't trust you at all. And I'm going to imprison you. Mess.
Cool. Thank you.
So Elizabeth is taken care of, but like obviously she's not like mentally doing well because she's sort of like my sister who kind of I thought was my friend, just put me in prison and I'm in house arrest and I don't really understand why I'm
also there's always
this situation.
And like your sister's openly executing Protestants, like what's to stop her from executing you out of fear as well? Like,
well, that's the thing, right? She's kind of like, I just don't really know and also she watched her father kill her mother and other women, and she's probably like, okay, well, I'm a woman, I can probably get killed.
And she's right.
Yeah, it's not great. So even though Mary the First, Queen Mary, she definitely like killed people, she didn't necessarily kill like so many people to necessitate the use of a nickname about how many people she killed.
Yeah, it's like it's not actually that crazy for a monarch to kill that many people. It's just that like,
which is a crazy sentence, but it is true.
Yeah,
and
people are like, it's kind of like Meghan Markle is a diva. Bloody Mary persecuting Protestants and murdering them.
So the Protestants who eventually pass on her legacy obviously build up this reputation of her being like a Bloody Mary, bloody monarch kind of thing.
Well, because Catholics are violent. That's a narrative you can then run with.
And Catholics are violent.
Yes.
So she ends up marrying Philip of Spain, but the British Parliament is sort of like, we don't really want this Philip of Spain guy around. We don't really want him to have any power. So he could not overtake her if she died. Like he could never take the throne. He had like really limited power. But they were sort of like, and also like relationship with Spain was not good. They kind of thought it was Spain trying to sleep their way into England. Classic Spain. And they want to have a child so that there can be a Catholic heir, but ultimately they never conceive. She has kind of phantom pregnancies. Oh. Yeah.
How old was she?
Because like, what is
when she took the throne?
She was 37 when she took the throne, and she reigned for 5 years. So she would have been 37 to 42.
Yeah, which is not, again, like
during her
you can have a baby for sure. It's just like the science back then, like it was hard to have a baby. Period. You know.
Yeah, well, even like with modern medicine, like that's still considered like a geriatric pregnancy. Like you'd be going in for more checkups if you're 37, 38, 39.
Just so offensive.
Having a baby. It is offensive because I don't want to be pregnant until I'm 40. I feel like that's when I want to do it.
Start. Yeah, agreed. That's when I'm ready to start thinking about kids. 40.
At 40, I'll start considering bringing a child into the mix.
That's when I feel like I'll really get it.
Yeah, exactly. In 1558, she dies at age 42. Probably her death was from cancer. She thought that she was pregnant from this illness, but then it was cancer and she died, which is too bad.
That sucks.
We hate to see that.
No.
Yeah.
It's not our fave.
it's yeah. So then we have Elizabeth takes the throne. She becomes England's second female monarch, which is kind of funny because like Henry VIII kind of ends up being a feminist icon for setting up like the first two female monarchs of England.
Inadvertently.
After like all he did was kill and hurt women his whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Inadvertently, he set up an era of female slavedom.
Well, you manifest the future you fear the most if you act from
fear. And he was like, I really hate women. I want them dead. And so his daughters were like, joke's on you. We're the first two female monarchs because your little dick couldn't have a son.
Yeah. And they said
Idiot.
That, for sure.
And they said that. They said, you're a little dick.
Yeah. Together in unison.
Dick, Henry.
They were like the Shining twins.
Yeah.
They were holding hands. Oh.
So now we have Elizabeth I, who's extremely iconic. So this is 1558.
Okay.
So 1558, Elizabeth ascends the throne. She's 25 years old. One of the first things she does is she renames Anne Boleyn, her mother, as queen. So she goes back in and she says, actually, like, I am birthed of Queen Anne Boleyn, to like kind of secure her claim on the throne, but also on another level, like she probably just wanted her mother not to have a disgraced memory, which like shout out to her. She also kind of got to see both her siblings have kind of messy reigns. And so she comes to power. She's known to be like kind of evasive. She's very level-headed. She's shrewd. She's cautious. She also really embodied Catherine Parr in a lot of how she sees like ruling a kingdom. She sees herself as very powerful. She doesn't like worry about having someone else there to support her. She's basically the one who learned from the mistakes of her father and her siblings.
She got to like see what everyone else did wrong.
Yes, she's very like coming up being like, I've seen this test run. Now I'm ready to hang.
I know a bit about her because I had to take a course on like Shakespeare and his world or whatever in university, which talked about like plays, but also through like the historical context of when he was writing them or whatever, or not writing them. If you subscribe to the false narrative that he did not write his plays, and the majority of his life was under Queen Elizabeth's rule, and she was like the unmarried queen because she was like, I'm married to the king of not the king, the kingdom of England. I'm married to
the kingdom of England.
This is, I'm not married because I'm married to the job. I'm married to the work. So we see
married to the job.
For like the royals had like a lot of effects on like the kinds of art that basically got to be made, which is also why like eventually when like the Puritans took over and stuff, like Shakespeare was basically cooked and all these things. He would have to make things to appeal to the Queen of England, which is why you do have these like, especially as Shakespeare's work kind of moves along, these like very strong female characters played by male actors, but like a lot of independent women because Queen Elizabeth was an independent woman. Like you get like Beatrice and all of these like really like big, still again like obviously ultimately love stories, but like you do have like fairly good for the time female roles in Shakespeare and big roles of women in Shakespeare because of Queen Elizabeth, basically, which is sick.
Oh yeah, it's really, really cool. I do think that like her influence on like what's interesting is like during her reign, she manages to start this thing called the Elizabethan settlement, which was her trying to find a compromise between the Catholics and the Protestants, which basically led to a Church of England being established that was like very stable and became the nation's like state religion. And because there was less infighting there, it became like England really became like a world player in terms of culture and art and stuff like that. Also like adventurers, like exploration and stuff like that really flourished under her. It's kind of like the golden age of English literature. She reigns for 44 years, which is bananas. It's very cool. She like
she took the throne like even
she was 25.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, she was 25 when she took the throne.
Her brain
also
is
during her brain is cooked. Also, during her time, the people are navigating the globe. They're establishing colonies and trading outposts in America and Africa and Asia, which colonialism, but also crazy that you're opening trade
England.
routes like that.
Yeah, it's good
it's
for
good for
England, bad
England.
for everyone else.
It
Bad
is
for
the start
any
of
indigenous
globalization.
group, period.
Terrible for indigenous people, for trade routes and stuff like that. Pretty impressive that this all kind of happens under her happening, if we're looking just from a trade standpoint. So it is very cool. And yeah, the whole thing with Shakespeare too is that she was functionally a patron of the arts. And you're not going to find a bigger I feel like we are both at the end of the day Shakespeare defenders.
100%. Well, the thing is, I know that one of your faves is The Merry Wives of Windsor, which was written
play.
for her, allegedly.
Yeah,
but written for her. Because again, that's basically a rom-com about aren't there it's women, it's like Bridesmaids for
they just prank Falstaff for
yes.
the whole play. That's the whole damn play. It's insane.
Yeah.
So it's this golden age, but also religious persecution is still going on. There's a super expensive war with Spain. And then at the end of her reign, there's very high taxes. The economy sucks again. And a lot of people are mad again.
Yeah. As is that. And ain't that just the way it goes? Sounds like Justin Trudeau.
Sounds like Trudeau. So she never marries. I put trauma from daddy, but it is theorized that she never marries because she watches her father go through terrible marriages. She she doesn't see marriage ever work out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. She's kind of I'm not getting married. I'm married to England. But because of this, she never leaves an heir. She has a lot of parliamentary pressure to marry, but every time she's sort of no.
I've seen
this. But she never
before.
really felt, and I didn't like the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of it was that she never felt really she had the job. She always felt a little bit scared. She always felt kind of shaky in her position. She also had smallpox in 1562.
Cool.
But she survived, but definitely weakened her. That's part of the whole theory about why she wore so much makeup. It's because she was sick.
Take her swimming
and a
on the
lot of
first
people
date.
fought it against her life. Take her swimming on the first date, and you'll see that she survived smallpox.
She's a survivor. Mm-hmm.
And people tried to kill her during her reign. Obviously, she was divisive. If people liked her, she was the JFK, a little bit of England.
Okay.
So she died after a short illness in 1603. She was aged 69 years old.
That's old for the past. Do they know what illness?
No. I feel it's just kind of when health deteriorates, you get sick. It's kind of vaguely just an illness and then you die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I remember the narrative, and I think this is false, because it feels wrong. It feels like it's too much a little known fact about history vibes. But she got blood people were it's blood poisoning because her makeup had lead in it. But I just feel that would have killed her before. I just don't think that would, you know what I mean? I don't know.
It might have
just feels fake.
Immune system. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's probably it was probably a pneumonia. It was probably you know what I mean? When you're just
TB
weak already and you get a sickness, TB. She anyway. But yeah, so she died vaguely. But she reigns for 44 years, which is pretty long.
Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth I. You would have loved The Naked Palette by Urban Decay.
Oh my God. Rest in peace. You would have loved Nose Contour.
Oh, gone too soon.
Can you imagine if she had a Charlotte Tilbury stick ass thingy?
Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth I. You would have loved The Conspiracy Palette by Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson.
So Elizabeth is buried in Westminster Abbey, initially in the vault of her grandfather. And then the new king, James I, erects a monument to Elizabeth in the Abbey. And the queen was popped beneath it in a vault shared with Mary I, her half-sister.
Hell yeah.
So she never married. She did dote on her favorites. So she fucked, is what I'm hearing. But she definitely had little romances, stuff like that.
Of course.
She has this pretty intense image and legacy as the Virgin Queen, married and devoted to England. And when she dies, the Tudor dynasty dies because she does not have a kid, and the crown is passed to Elizabeth's closest relation, who is James VI of Scotland. And that's where the Tudors end, baby.
Woo!
Woo!
What a narrative, man.
It actually is fucking insane. That whole reign was only 3 generations.
That's insane. And oh man, they brought the drama. They packed it. It was like keeping up with the Kardashians, but everyone's
here for
sick.
a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
Instead of Botox, they have TB.
Exactly. Instead of Botox, they have some disease that we don't really know what it is, but
yeah. Well, and that's the conclusion of the two. Any final thoughts before we leave the Tudors behind?
No, I think that was a different kind of history from what we've done in the past of like, we haven't really done a history from like a history period that's from the deeper past, like not like even like not like the modern century, let's say. Yeah, that's a century. Yeah. Century's 100 years, right? Okay, I just want to make sure I was right.
Yeah. You got it.
And that was about like kind of like rich people. Like we have done like, you know, Salem witch trials or whatever, but it was interesting to deal with like the inner workings of the palace and the politics of that. It was interesting.
Yeah. I know. I found this very eye-opening, and honestly, fuck Henry VIII. Long live the wives. Let's do a girl historian's rendition of 6.
Yes, we play all the parts.
Are we ready to do our question? Let's freaking go.
Ready?
Let's make
this tragedy.
Let's make this tragedy about us. Crushed it.
Killed it. That was
so much better.
We're getting so good at it.
Okay, Carley, my question to you is, Elizabeth I was known after her reign as the Virgin Queen. Mm-hmm. If you are Queen of England or whatever country you want, what would you want to be remembered as? Like the blank queen, or it doesn't have to end with queen, but you know what I mean?
The bitch queen.
I think my
I feel like my narrative would be like, you know, it would be the thing of like, they wouldn't necessarily, because you're a queen, like, or a monarch, they don't know you that well. Like there is a level of remove similar to Queen Elizabeth or whatever, right? The second of like, oh, we kind of know a little bit about her, but we don't know that much. But then behind the scenes, it's very much like, I'm not like mean to like servants or anything, but people will just be like, there's like, if you like read these reports, like she said some crazy shit to other world leaders. Yeah. Or like if I have to meet with the prime minister and they're like, well, we need you to do this. And I'll be like, that's your fucking problem. I don't care.
Yeah, not me. I don't have any real power thanks to you.
Yeah, so I'm actually just gonna chill over here. Y'all can fix
over
that.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I like that. I think I'd be known as the moat swimmer.
I love
because
that.
I think I would jump into the moat and swim. I'd swim in the moat.
That would be cute.
And I think they'd be like, where is she? And they'd be like, oh,
she's in the fucking moat again. She's in the moat.
In the fucking moat. Someone has to go retrieve her from the moat.
Yeah. I love that. That's very whimsical.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bloody Mary, but instead of executions, it's me swimming in dirty water.
Yeah, and you get ill pretty quickly. That water is not clean.
I have a lot of
and you're open mouth swimming. Like you like swimming. Everyone's like, why is her mouth open? Why is she blowing bubbles?
Her mouth. And I'm like, you gotta blow bubbles. And they're like, no, you don't
have to.
No, you have to blow bubbles. Keep the devil away. I'm very religious in this.
Okay, that's just kind of like your character's like that's like narrative kind of. That's a little bit of a narrative flair.
Exactly.
Well, I can't believe we finished the Tudors. I'm saying goodbye.
Goodbye to the 6.
Thank you guys so much
for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, for listening, not watching. I guess you could be watching as well. Yeah. I don't know. We could tell you to like leave a fucking review or subscribe to the Patreon. But like,
we could tell you those things.
Do what you want.
Do what you want. Follow your heart.
Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.
Sonar!